mais aussi anthropologues et autres, dans des contextes divers. Anna, je te passe la parole. Anna est beaucoup de choses, mais aussi professeure de théorie de design à l'ENSAD. Voilà.
Merci beaucoup, Rudy, de cette introduction et surtout de cette invitation à participer à cette école du non-savoir, parce que je trouve que c'est une initiative formidable et essentielle, surtout dans ces moments historiques. Et surtout, je crois que si nous sommes plusieurs à nous motiver et à mettre nos compétences, notre énergie, parce qu'on a beaucoup parlé d'énergie, il me semble aussi, et notre volonté de repenser, revoir ce monde, je pense que peut-être, parce qu'on ne sait pas, il y a toujours la variable, la présente, on pourrait, en restant toujours positive, on pourrait peut-être rester toujours positive dans cette reconstruction et réconsidération du monde grâce aussi au design, qui n'est qu'en petite partie. Donc là, j'ai commencé en français, donc je me laisse porter, je n'ai pas prévu vraiment la langue, je dis bon, je vais switcher, donc côté...
Faut pas me regarder parce que
non, oui.
En me regardant, tu parles français, mais voilà.
C'est vrai. Guardo Silvia. Non, ben, je vais continuer un tout petit peu en français et je vais passer peut-être à l'anglais assez rapidement. J'ai décidé pour vous justement de ricontextualiser qu'est-ce que c'est la co-creation. Adesso parlo in francese, però posso farlo anche in italiano, uguale o in inglese, perché penso che la base del lavoro, del design di oggi e di domani è come ha detto anche Rudy introducendomi, si riesce a ripensare in modo orizzontale, ma senza escludere la verticalità che ovviamente è necessaria per ogni individuo per ricentrarsi, eccetera, però l'orizzontalità è anche qualcosa di fondamentale nell'approccio che ogni designer deve avere. Ma per fare ciò, and to do that, so I go back to English, it's essential that we are capable of sharing our diversities, our point of view, we have also to be capable of cultivating our diversity, because as we will see today in the books that I decide to propose you with many fundamental theoricians who have worked on these issues, I really hope that we will be capable of producing all together a critical thinking and mobilizing positive resources to try to address today's environmental, social, and cultural disaster. We know that there is an urgency, so we have to act quite in urgency. So we are here to try to think together, because what I like also of this invitation is that we are all here together, comparing our models, trying to see what it means a desirable future for the society, and also for people who are up until now not the main people who we are normally addressing to. I have written a book which is also called Towards Sharing Common Future, which is a collective book. It's not my, I'm showing it, but I don't know if you see it. That Coraini just published, and it's also on issues, and it's a collection of articles of sociologists, philosophers, but also many of designers working with what I call newcomers. Newcomers are the richness, are the new people arriving in our countries and treated normally by also by politicians, but also by the people, not as a richness, not as an actor which has a role to play in the shaping of our common world. So I've given the word to many people, and also I saw that Matteo Moretti will be there, so probably we'll also talk about this, because he made there is also an article of Matteo here, so I'm very happy that we will participate, that he made this atlas of migration. So it's important that we are capable of situating and giving the words to the people who normally are not allowed to talk. So this is very important. So I will tell you a little bit more about that probably later on, or if you have any question, I'm here to answer you. I would like to start with an assumption of Deleuze, who wrote that immobile identities can damage the sensitivity of contemporary man living in a world ruled by chaos and characterized by creolized societies. The concept of identity relation or identity rhizome are much more adapted to today's human condition. So what I called co-creation, it implies that the people who we are working with, that we will work with in the future, are part of this common identity, this identity rhizome of which Deleuze was talking of. So I will do a kind of lectures of many books, starting from this point of co-creation of the identity rhizome, and then I will show you the books, so you also will have some food for thoughts, and trying to connect all the different dots, trying to giving a theoretical background to the practice I've developed in these years. And I will show you at the same time also photos of projects I developed in the past years, in which I translated this theory into tangible actions. I start with the book Il faut aux révolutions politiques, poétiques, philosophiques du philosophe Aurélien Barraud, with this photo of cultivating conviviality. That was a workshop I organized in the framework of an EU project I developed at ENSAD, that was From Conflict to Conviviality Through Creativity and Culture. I read you some lines. Le mythe est le nom des cosmos, se structurant en logos, écrivait le philosophe Jean-Luc Nancy, qui est récemment décédé. Il faut travailler sur le logos. Logos, c'est le cœur du cœur de la métaphysique occidentale. Logos, c'est le cœur du cœur de toute métaphysique, pour le meilleur et pour le pire. C'est ce qui a structuré toute histoire de cette partie du monde. Mais de quel monde on parle? Nous nous focalisons sur les effets sans travailler les causes. Autre grand problème. On ferme un abattoir où les animaux souffrent le martyre sans vouloir comprendre que notre mode d'alimentation impose structurellement cette souffrance. On s'indigne d'un tweet éminemment xénophobe, mais on refuse de voir l'extrême violence des récentes dissolutions d'associations antiracistes. On impose des quotas des femmes dans telle ou telle représentation publique sans nous interroger sur les raisons qui poussent à devoir arriver là. On sorifie des jeux érotiques, mais on hypersexualise chaque élément du réel. Tout est à reprendre. Le réchauffement climatique, la pollution, l'effondrement des populations, l'acidification des océans, l'artificialisation des sols sont aussi des conséquences. On ne peut pas les résoudre sans travailler l'origine, c'est-à-dire le parti pris idéologique qui les engendre. Diriger l'extincteur vers le sommet des flammes ne permet jamais d'éteindre l'incendie. Dernière citation de ce fabuleux petit pamphlet. Non si vede?
Dove sono?
Devi guardare
Sì, si vede, ma deve cliccare due.
No, aspetta.
Ah, lascia.
No, ma ok, direi che va bene se lo vedete.
Sì.
Ok. Il est question d'interroger les régimes des signes et les édifices des sens. La migration ontologique, puisqu'il s'agit de redéfinir les états fondamentaux, ne peut pas être disciplinaire.
Ma non va.
Primo.
Sì.
Non è importante, tanto lo
Se faccio il primo, non si vede.
Donc, il faut sortir des disciplines. Un autre enseignement qui nous dit ce petit pamphlet. Elle révèle d'un effet des bords. Une fois de plus, les poètes sont bien plus essentiels et efficaces que les économistes, les physiciens et les politologues pour aborder cette question. Travailler la beauté est plus urgent et plus radical qu'équilibrer son bilan carbone. Les origines de l'immobilisme sont diffractées et le capitalisme est la conséquence, plus que l'origine, d'un enchevêtrement axiologique des prédations et des dominations.
Ça, c'est toujours Jean-Luc Nancy ou
Ouais.
c'est...
Non, c'est Aurélien Barraud.
D'accord, c'est Barraud.
La science intervient au titre d'outil descriptif et projectif, tandis que la technologie est pertinente en tant qu'outil praxique et constructif. Ni l'un ni l'autre ne fixent la direction. Leurs rôles sont importants, mais ne peuvent pas, par définition, être essentiels. Donc ça, pour moi, c'est vraiment les enseignements de ce petit livre qui nous aide un peu à abandonner le schéma pour être capable de mieux se projeter dans un futur commun, sensible et partageable. Je passe maintenant à une autre...
Un po' d'italiano.
un po' d'italiano. I'm sorry. So, I'm sorry. What I wanted to say with this book is that it teaches us that science, technology is capable of classifying, is capable of putting into frames and framework and logical effectiveness. But there is not the poetry, there is no beauty, there is not the capacity of projecting ourselves into a desirable common future. And so we also have to be capable to develop this other thing that we haven't developed up until now. To resume it very briefly. I'm sorry, we continue with French, then I will try to summarize also in English with, of course, this milestone, I would say, which is the dialogue on the human nature of Boris Cyrulnik and Edgar Morin. So a scientific and Edgar Morin is not classifiable. What would you say he is, Edgar Morin? He's a sociologist, a philosopher, a man.
Philosopher. Not only.
Not only.
He's coming from the hard side, so, no?
Well, okay, anyway. We can go back to this man because he's more than 100 years ago and he wrote many interesting things, so we can do a chapter on him. But he just wrote a biography, but I think it's all in French. I just read his biography. Donc, on reprend le fil. Je crois qu'on en est encore loin d'avoir compris la nécessité de relier. Donc là, on a dit, up until now, we say the ingredients a little bit and the framework. And now, what we have to do, what kind of action? Because the thing that we never have to forget is now it's urgent to act. Je crois que l'on en est loin d'avoir compris la nécessité de relier. Relier, c'est sans doute le grand problème qui va se poser à l'éducation. Je passe à un autre chapitre. Il s'est développé ce que j'appellerais une intelligence aveugle au contexte et qui devient incapable de concevoir les ensembles. Or, nous sommes dans un monde où tout est communication, tout est interaction. Donc, on a oublié quelque chose. On lo disait anche
Questo
stamattina.
dobbiamo tradurre perché è essenziale.
Scusa. Abbiamo sviluppato un'intelligenza di capire i contesti perfettamente, ok? Però siamo capaci di capire ogni singolo contesto, ma non quello che li riunisce. e soprattutto in un mondo in cui tutto è comunicazione, in cui tutto è interazione, dunque dobbiamo essere assolutamente capaci di concepire e di sviluppare degli insiemi, quello che diceva prima anche Vera quando interveniva a proposito del design sistemico, del lato sistemico del vocabolario e del linguaggio che era stato proposto. Car se mettre à la place de l'autre, c'est s'enrichir, mais c'est un effort, c'est aller à la découverte d'un nouveau continent mental, d'une nouvelle manière de penser, d'une nouvelle manière d'être homme. L'enjeu capital, il s'agit d'un véritable kit ou double. On s'enrichit en ouvrant son monde et l'on fait une théorie cohérente et on la disqualifie, on l'excommunie, on l'exclut. Cette nouvelle humanité qui est en train de naître doit être une humanité des débats. Cela est très fatigant, mais très passionnant. C'est la source de la vie. La capacità dell'empatia, di mettersi nella pelle dell'altro, di capire che ovviamente è uno sforzo, ma è la base per arricchirsi, per poter pensare insieme a un nuovo modo di essere uomo. Non è niente. Lo diceva anche il nostro Papì Munari, quando proponeva di dare gli occhialini al vicino per dire il guardare design è quello che riesce a mettersi nella pelle dell'altro. Ma direi che qua siamo andati a uno stadio ancora superiore, perché dobbiamo capire l'altro e mettersi in relazione con l'altro. Forse è un punto, un pezzo in più, aggiungiamo un pezzo in più al nostro amato Munari. Mais qu'est-ce que c'est la démocratie? C'est beaucoup de choses. Ce sont des libertés publiques, des séparations des pouvoirs, des élections, des majorités qui assument un gouvernement. Mais il ne faut pas oublier que la démocratie est en profondeur l'organisation de la diversité. Punto fondamentale. Ma che cos'è? Allora, stiamo parlando di democrazia, cioè di persone di individualità, guardarlo con gli occhi degli altri, mettersi in relazione. E lui ridefinisce, Morin che parla, che cos'è la democrazia? Ossia la capacità profonda di organizzare la diversità. Je pense que faire œuvre de culture, c'est donner aux citoyens la capacité de briser, de transgresser les frontières et les compartiments de plus en plus clos entre les différents domaines du savoir. Penso che far cultura è dare al cittadino la capacità di rompere, di trasgredire le frontiere e i compartimenti sempre più stretti tra i diversi compartimenti del sapere. Voilà. Autre milestone, je dirais some extracts of this book. I didn't speak in English, so I don't know if I should say something briefly of...
No, it's okay.
It's okay?
Okay. Con i tuoi lingue è sufficiente.
E adesso vorrei continuare con...
Ma posso fare?
Vai.
Anche in germano, così entra nella testa.
Anche in tedesco?
No.
Ci siamo, mi seguite un pochino?
Posso
stiamo andando.
solo una cosa,
Prego.
questo testo lo troviamo anche in inglese.
Sicuramente.
Sì, dopo facciamo, prendo tutta la bibliografia.
Ok, va bene, grazie.
Sicuramente
Ok,
sì.
va bene.
Mi state seguendo? Am I clear enough on the progression? Ok. Passo adesso a dei colleghi grafici di Lungomare che hanno fatto questo pamphlet fantastico lavorando con i migranti anche, allora chiamiamoli migranti, io lo chiamo newcomers. Mi piace mettere appunto questo fatto di temporalità più che di soggetto, ma a volte devo tradurlo perché sennò non capite di cosa parlo. I can go back to English, and Lungomare, in this pamphlet of You Are But You Are Not, they mapped, actually, they made a necklace of the territory, which is their territory, which is Bolzano, and they give the world, through artists, to what the migrant would have said by approaching Bolzano. And we go a step beyond because in all the movements that are necessary to understand the other, to put ourselves in the skin of another person, there is this border, there is this limit. And so here we will speak a little bit about this, what divides us and what is important to overcome to establish this empathy to the other. You know how you cross a border. You cross it with the name, a surname, a place, and the date of birth, a profession, an address, a nationality. That's how you cross a border, with the possession of requirements that I don't have. I let you reflect probably on these things, because they are the basis of what constitutes our belonging to a nation which is a nation state. What does it mean? What does it mean in this process that we are proposing nowadays? Index of the left hand, index of the right hand, centered with the right pressure on the fingertip, with no inclination, vertical or horizontal, perfectly flat, with no lateral rotation. If it's not possible to take the fingerprint on the index, proceed in this order: middle finger, right finger, and thumb for each hand. Every individual is unique and irreplaceable. No cut, no burn, no trauma can change your true identity. Procedures, protocols, documents, records, interviews, interpreters, trials, reports, sentences, regulations, examinations, archives, conventions. Welcome to the procedure of hospitality. This is also another step that we have absolutely take into consideration, that there is a bureaucracy, there is this belonging to this nation state. That is why I'm still Italian, even though I've been living in France for 26 years. There are these borders. Sometimes these borders are, in my case, not so important because I'm a European citizen. But for most of the people in this world, it's a burden that they cannot bear. So how can also we overcome this problem in this process? Okay, we go on with the basis of glissant that I saw that, of course, we don't have to, and I retook what Patrick Chamoiseau, which is a writer, actually, he's not really a philosopher, retook of the manifest written by Edouard Glissant about this tout monde, because what we're telling here is how to rebuild this tout monde, this concept. All world.
Tutto il mondo è tutto il mondo e tutti ci sono dentro. E questo gioco da queste due significazioni.
Esatto, cioè il doppio significato, poi c'è anche tutto, non solo gli esseri umani ovviamente, c'è anche tutto il non umano, quello che Escobar chiama anche il pluriverse, con una piccola differenza che potremo vedere. Ma vi leggo un po' di questo tout monde, se volete. In francese. Le tout monde est sensible à la chaleur des utopies, à l'oxygène d'un rêve, aux belles errances d'une poétique. Il nomme l'art et sa divination, au principe de nos politiques globales et de nos paroles partagées. Il nous amène de pressentir cette nouvelle région du monde, où nous entrons tous ensemble, partant des voies et des recours différents. Une infinité d'archipels qu'il nous faut habiter, non pas des chapelets d'îles, mais des lieux qui se joignent par mille bords, se connaissent sans code, se meuvent par là les anciens impossibles. Des imaginaires qui font dérive et s'entrecroisent par-dessous les océans, au-dessous des frontières, dans le silence ou dans le moi des dieux, en plein travers des continents, dans l'essaimage des îles, le vent géographique que nul ne dessinerait sans le perdre aussitôt. Le tout monde est à vivre dans sa structure archipélique, seul moyen de s'en saisir sans tout autant le perdre. Per riassumere, questo tout monde è questo mondo impercettibile, immaginario dell'arcipelago, è la mitologia quasi che lui fa di questo arcipelago e di quello che riunisce gli individui che fanno parte di questa infinità d'arcipelaghi, ed è quasi un'analogia alla differenza che ci costituisce, ma come, essendo in un arcipelago, siamo ovviamente uniti e interdipendenti.
E quale che c'è anche sotto l'acqua della mare.
E c'è anche il mare, ovviamente.
Che fa la connessione.
Esatto, che fa la connessione. Je continue. Tous nos villes, tous nos pays relèvent aujourd'hui d'une digénèse, d'une origine folle et démultipliée. La digénèse est une émergence qui ouvre à 1000 possibilités dans le passé, le présent et l'avenir. Ces 1000 possibilités nous préservent de la doctrine et du dogme et nous installent dans ce qui est l'incertain, l'imprévisible, l'imprédictible, onde régénérant. Dunque questa è un po' una lode dell'improvvisazione, di tutto ciò che è incerto, imprevisibile, impredittibile. Questa cosa che ci costituisce ogni giorno, che costituisce una forza perché caratterizza la differenza. Le principe mystérieux qui anime le vivant confère à chaque existence une singularité irréductible, mais une opacité approchable. È un po' l'elogio dell'opacità che fa in questo punto, qualcosa che nella cultura forse occidentale l'opacità è considerata come negativa, ma che lui considera come forza, valore aggiunto nella costituzione di questo arcipelago. D'où l'infinie diversité, ces imprévisibles, et la nécessité de les préserver, et imprédictibles comme dans l'opacité. Tout le monde est un champ des forces instables où l'effervescence d'un seul imaginaire peut engendrer au loin des ondes déterminantes. Le gouffre de l'océan nous a ouvert à la relation. E la base dell'oceano ci ha aperto la relazione. Questo tout monde è un insieme di forze instabili, incerte, opache, che possono comunque diffondersi e propagarsi. Vous qui avez des frères et des cousins et des neveux et des alliés des familles sur tous les continents, entendez ce qui dit relation. Chatoiement des lieux en liaison qui dessinent les états non étatiques du tout monde. Pensez en lieu, esquisser la nouvelle région du monde. Voilà, ça c'est un autre chapitre di cosa vuol dire pensare in relazione. Pensare relazionandosi agli altri, pensando che ogni azione che noi facciamo è sentita dall'altro, sia in modo cosciente che incosciente, ma siamo tutti collegati gli uni con gli altri e parti di un insieme che è questo mondo.
Credo c'è un'altra parte che è molto importante del Glisson, è questa impossibilità la cultura di fare che alcune cose non sono possibili di sapere. E la cultura che c'è una cultura anche della poesia. Lei è un filosofo ma un poeta davanti e dice che il grande della poesia è anche che sono questo multi possibilità di capire e di leggere un testo, non c'è solamente una significazione. Come facciamo elementi, design elements who are not monolinguistic.
No. There is another part of Glissant that really considers this creolization, because even if, as Ruby said, he was a writer, a philosopher, he came from Martinique and in the islands, which is very different from what we saw this morning from Madagascar. Yes. And I also have a part of my family in Martinique, so I know it very well. It's hyper complex, and the difference is the relationality of something which is really often impredictable, unpredictable, is also part of the process and is also very important. Anyway, we could go on, but I would like to continue because I have a certain time, so I just choose some books that I think are a little bit milestone, and we pass from one author from one side of the planet to the other, from one language to the other. So I hope that you will follow me. And when I was in a conference in April in where was I? In Canada, in Montreal, after my speech, someone gave me this book as a present. So it's not somebody who is really well known, so it's something unpredictable, and someone that probably I wouldn't have read, but I think I put in this order right now, which is a book on which lessons we can take from marine mammals, making a parallel with the Black feminine lessons. So, and it was a gift given from a researcher from Jamaica, and she's working on this question of feminism and the relationship to the elements, non-human elements, like the oceans, but also of the marine mammals in the ocean. So what lesson we can take from them. And then as part of this Tout Monde, I think it's very important also to see how an engaged person wrote about this. And it's a book on acts, on kind of breath, human and non-human breath, and symphony we should establish also with other creatures. So I read you a part of this book. My task here as a marine mammal apprentice, opening myself to guidance from these advanced marine animals, is to identify with, to see what happens when I rethink and refeel my own relations, possibilities, and practices, inspired by the relations, possibilities, and practices of advanced marine mammal life. That's an emergent strategy. If interlocking underground communication of trees, Dandelion resilience and responsive mycelium networks can inspire us to relate with and across species differently, so can also marine mammals. On a parlato molto degli alberi, della comunicazione degli alberi, Mancuso ci ha insegnato tantissimo su queste cose, sulla resilienza, con Boris Cibunic, del micelio, con Maurizio Montalti, eccetera, eccetera. Però ne abbiamo parlato un po' meno di quello che possiamo imparare da questi mammiferi marini. I'm almost asking questions of myself and of you in this text. We go to continue to consider what is possible from here. And since I can't help but notice how marine mammals are queer, fierce, protective of each other, complex, shaped by conflict, and struggling to survive the extractive and militarized context our species has imposed on the ocean and ourselves, this work is accountable to the movements that are boldly seeking to transform the meaning of life on the planet right now. So I suggest you to go through this. And I finish, for the pleasure of Arupa, with my beloved, and also not also my, Vandana Shiva, and an abstract in Italian on a book that she wrote probably in English on the war because of the water. I don't talk more about this resource and what relies us to water, because we are 80% made of water, so we absolutely have to read this book, and you have to absolutely to read this book if you haven't done that. So Vandana Shiva, The War of Waters. L'ecologia del terrore ci mostra quale deve essere la via per la pace. La pace sta nell'alimentare la democrazia ecologica e economica e nel favorire la diversità. La democrazia non è semplicemente un rituale elettorale, un po' quello che ho letto prima, un po' quello che diceva Morin, la stessa cosa. La democrazia non è semplicemente un rituale elettorale, ma il potere delle persone di forgiare il proprio destino, determinare in che modo le loro risorse naturali debbano essere possedute e utilizzate, come la loro sete vada placata, come il loro cibo vada prodotto e distribuito, quali sistemi sanitari e di istruzione debbano avere. Nel ricordare le vittime dell'11 settembre 2001 negli Stati Uniti, rafforziamo anche la nostra solidarietà con i milioni di vittime invisibili di altre forme di terrorismo e violenza. Un terrorismo e una violenza che minacciano la possibilità stessa di avere un futuro su questo pianeta. Possiamo trasformare questo momento storico così tragico e brutale nella costruzione di culture di pace. Creare la pace ci impone di risolvere le guerre per l'acqua, le guerre per il cibo, per la biodiversità, per l'atmosfera. Come disse una volta Gandhi, la terra è abbastanza per le necessità di tutti, ma non per l'avidità di pochi. Il ciclo dell'acqua ci connette tutti e dall'acqua possiamo imparare il cammino della pace e la via della libertà. Possiamo imparare a trascendere le guerre dell'acqua causate dall'avidità, dallo spreco e dall'ingiustizia, che provano scarsità nel nostro pianeta in origine ricco di acqua. Possiamo lavorare insieme per creare democrazia dell'acqua e se costruiamo la democrazia, costruiamo la pace. E finisco qua. Finisco qua perché penso che possiamo parlare dopo come possiamo trasporre tutto ciò al design. Mi sono fermata nei miei slide perché ho tante cose che posso farvi vedere così. Di problemi di linguaggio forse che ho potuto trattare, forse faccio vedere anche questi.
Sì, grazie molto Anna, credo in contribution is a contribution who bring a new angle on this point, but in the same way at what we think in the moment. So I think it was really interesting because kids do a little bit the same approach to say, I will speak about outdoors and
I didn't know.
bring it in our and he chooses absolutely other persons.
Okay.
So it's very interesting to have this double contribution.
But I can talk also of practical things if you want. I did.
I think in your different research you prove that this has a pedagogical aspect and has also formal dimensions. This bring to another kind of design, and your exhibition in the Villette was a proof of this. And I
show this while I listen to you, so you can see.
It's just I am perturbed. I think no, it's good. I think it's very interesting to introduce Edouard Morin, who is in the same time a very popular person. He was in Avignon this year. He's 100 years old. So
more, 102.
And two, so it's a very old thinker, but still very. And he mixed very simple texts, like simple, accessible, and other who are very, very complex. So
he is the theorization of the complexity.
Yeah,
so
he is the theorization of the complexity, and it's very interesting. He come from this complexity and come now more and more about this theory of relation. So it's also without letting the complexity behind, but.
I think that he learned, he said, I read this year his biography, and I think that explains that he comes to this through the experience of his life.
Did you have some? Lei capisce italiano, possiamo mandare in italiano.
e capisci.
Lei è italiana e non ha ancora preso un'altra nazionalità per il momento. Vi faccio vedere tante cose che potrei collegarle l'una all'altra.
Qualcosa sì.
Quindi questi sono altri workshop sempre incentrati comunque con il design e il linguaggio?
Sì, sono degli esempi di progetti che secondo me uniscono un po' i punti che ho cercato di spiegare prima teoricamente. Questo lo conoscete forse, il progetto Super Local di Andrea De Chirico, no? Che è italiano, che l'ho mostrato anche, questo lo conoscete, questo è un altro progetto. Sono tutti dei progetti che secondo me illustrano o hanno dei semi di quello che ho spiegato prima.
Sì, io propongo, mettiamo questo anche
con piacere.
Su internet, perché sono cose importanti di ripensare un po' questa scuola e quale che vediamo tutti è come è necessaria di destrutturare la scuola
di oggi.
Sì, la scuola che emetica il white box, che emetica della realtà della vita e del mondo. Ma non è una decostruzione dell'università, che non abbiamo bisogno dell'università, probabilmente un'università che è più vicina di quale che c'è qualche anni fa,
che c'era
davanti,
tanto tempo
che
fa.
c'era, ma sempre è interessante di come possiamo molto di più connettare questo con la realtà. Adesso siamo in between both, and this we see it's really difficult.
It's really difficult also because we have I can explain this to you. We have this virtuality. We are speaking to people who are on the other side of the world, and there are the youngest generation I see also with the students, but also with my son, that are completely into real life, like kind of surrealists, because as intelligent beings, they know that they belong to this world, that there are resources, and they have to be capable of handling with the resources and to do together with the others. But at the same time, they are born in a society where for them the virtual and the real is exactly the same thing. And for us, of my generation, but probably also of yours, there are the one behind you, are completely into it. And I don't think it's very difficult to apprehend also what it will mean. What does it mean to be at the same time completely in a network, with this metaverse that has been reshaped by people that we know and that exist. There are parents in the US giving 3D oculus to kids, and these kids go into these worlds, and there is a lot of violence in it. There are 80%. So there is this reality that for them it's a real reality, and what we try to reconstruct. So for me also conceptually, it's the most difficult part of reshaping together with you the next generation of designers this world. How to put also this element. That's what is missing to me, because there are no many. I mean, Philip Dick wrote a lot about that. It has been retaken in the cinema. I have to say it, I forgot. But it's very difficult to theorize with this, with the same line. It's for me difficult, and so it's something that I put on the table, because I think that we also have to think about that. Something that preoccupies me a lot.
Sure. But also what we do here, because we every time forget this dimension of the pollution of the digital pollution, but what we do here is a catastrophe. Huh? So when we add all the person who look at this and don't come to Milano because it's too far away, it's not an ecological act. 2 hours of screen of digital element is similar as 50 kilometers with the car. So we have to forget that this is not pollution. This is
also pollution at the same time. So.
Bene,
I will give this
to be ready on. Thanks a lot, Anna, again.
You're welcome.
Perhaps you have also questions, but we have to go quick. And we try to share the screen of.
Certo, tieni. Questo è mio.
No, guarda.
Te lo do se vuoi.
Volentieri, grazie.
Da lontano non ci sono domande, dici che non... No?
Sono domande da lontano?
I just wanted to make a bridge between what we have discussed last week with Jacques Ferrier and the guest of the session on body and energy is that we have different concepts of virtuality, and I think we have in the virtual, so-called virtual, which is the digital world, we have facts which have completely real world impact, and we have in the with our imaginaries in the real world so many virtual capacity. And I think it's very important that the digital world is not doing confiscation of or have the privilege to deal with our virtual capacities, and we have to hack both sides. I think, and to irritate these two separate definitions, and I think it was very important what Anna did, because I think it's also to bring in new literature, new books, which which are not part of the canon, so-called, and to make the work of translations, to make, and why the scholar has been created beside all these other institutions. It's that to create an institution is also an act of manifestation, of giving form to something, and it's not accidentally that we use the power of the symbolic power of the French Institute to install a scuola which is providing different types of knowledge. And I think it's precisely this, but this is a very Bourdieu perspective. This creation of institution is also a credibilization, but also giving accessibility to these other formats of knowledge and to interlink them. So this was just a little add-on, and I'm the digital polluter, but I'm happy that I can still hear you. So.
La cosa me l'hai scartata?
Stavo sharing lo screen.
Le camicie, no? Non c'è scritto che non può
Voglio che ti sente.
Prova a vedere se a me me lo fa.
Vera,
Ja, yes.
willst du den Amanda präsentieren? Oder soll ich?
Also ich kann hören, aber ich bin zwischen den.
Okay, dann mach ich's.
Ja, du kannst und ich kann ergänzen oder was auch immer, wenn du willst.
Ja, also ich kann seinen Text jetzt schnell lesen.
Ja.
Armando. No.
No, I think he will join us at 4:30. Yeah.
No, 3:30 is now. Bello.
Vero? Molto bello, no? Molto interessante.
Rudy, I think it's 4:30 because he wrote 4:30 and you said good to see you at 3:30, but he said 4:30.
Just for there, I forgot to say that my field is California University. Okay. 3:30. We are happy to see you at 3:30.
Yeah, but Rudy, it's very interesting. It fits with our project because you had in mind 3:30, and he for him it's 4:30 normally.
Okay. So in this case,
but we can discuss in meanwhile if you want.
In this case, can you make probably
Se Anna spiegasse
sure. But also
for Armando, because they have
discussion un po' più aperta.
la mia presentazione.
I think he always wrote 4:30 and Rudy.
That's true.
Yeah, he answered 3:30, but it's also a technique too. No, I think it's 4:30.
Posso cantare? Sì. Allora, io levo la mia
4:30.
Allora, la rimetto, Ma dovrebbe essere ancora lì?
Perché l'avevo nella mia chiavetta. Allora, Rudy, sì. Facciamo così. Gli occhiali, gli occhi. If you have special question, I can go or I can explain to you some practical also applications of what I said.
Well, Anna, if we
vuole
Grazie.
pazienza nella vita.
Siamo back.
Siamo back, non è detto che siamo back, siamo nel mezzo al back. Allora, adesso proviamo a vedere se troviamo la tua pennetta. Questa chiudiamo. Dovrebbe essere questa.
Really, shall I ask Armando Seal if he can start earlier or not?
No, I propose we really make a little bit
A workshop discussion.
workshop now, and I think if we make a resume in between the different project of schools of this morning and a kind of project of school Anna present us also, and we have also Silvia who are here, who will speak tomorrow about improvisation. So I ask Esteban to invite also Christopher Dell. So tomorrow morning we will have a discussion about improvisation. I think it's very important for this possibility to accept the knowledge, to be in a reaction about new elements, and to not be know before what will happen. This is, I think, attitude with. But in view of all this, I think it will be interesting to make a little workshop about what could be another kind of school. How can we start education who is based on we know we don't know. We know that we don't know. And we know that we don't know everything. And not about the encyclopedia. We know everything, but perhaps of the contrary. We know everything, but in the same time we know that we don't know. So how can we, in the same time, have this capacity we have on our phone and all this to be very in the reaction of, and this is all the world, this is the same more or less, the point of economy. We have this direct filter of reality who go with this Google and other element is a filter. Is the best way that all think similar is to say if you have a question, go to my network and I will give you the answer. So it's more and more, we can say in the best way, common thinking. I'm not sure it is, common ideology, common way of thinking. And what we say these 10 last days is to say only the contextualization, only to go out of this general thinking to really connect with the reality is one of what we have to do to open again new questions. So we can say one is the permanent solution and the other is probably the recultivation of questions.
I think that's the other important thing to go a step beyond that I said a little bit, but not enough, probably, is also the fact to reconsider that we are subject and object at the same time, and a kind of objectivation, a subjectivation of the reality at the same time, which is fundamental to understand that we are actors, but we also have to be capable of listening and of being a part of something that other cultures, other entities conceive in a different way. So we are object for them. So this is something. This objectivation is also an element which is important to consider, and in this reciprocal, movement of collective relearning. And I think that we have, I tried it, if you want, I can explain a little bit more my suggestion of this morning to our group about